seconds.
Is this where the damn drumming and the music kicks in?
Yeah. What is going on, everybody? Hello, and welcome back to On the Pipe podcast. Today is Tuesday, September the 23rd, 2025, years after zero, except for, no, it's not. I'm breaking kayfabe here. I got to let you guys know, this is a pre-recorded episode. Big Rig Craig is here with me. Today is Monday, but by the time you're hearing this, it is going to be Tuesday at 7 p.m., which on the bright side will be maybe the first show that we've ever started at 7 p.m. So we're on track for one thing. Isn't that right, Craig?
Yeah. On time, ready, alert. Don't look at my C4. Don't tell my mom I'm drinking it because she's going to be mad as hell.
Right here at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's Monday, but I'm feeling pretty good. This is the first time I think we've ever been on time. Our fault, but happy to be here.
And we're glad that you're here listening because we are presented by Yamaha USA. As always, Yamaha, our good buddies over there, part of the Blue Crew, the best motorcycles you could ever put your butt cheeks on. Say it time and time again. Every bike that I've bought for myself in the past has been Yamaha's. Currently riding a 2025, 26, 25? 25 YZ250 FX. Super sick. And we talk about it all the time. Yamaha supports the sport in so many different ways, and that's why I'm so grateful and proud to be working with a company like Yamaha because they are supporting the sport pretty much everywhere you look at it, from motocross to woods to now even hard enduro. They just added a hard enduro rider to that Rocky Mountain ATV MC Yamaha team with Cody Webb. So continuing to grow and continuing their support, and we are super glad and thankful that they support us here at On the Pipe podcast. But, yeah, we got some stuff coming up this week. Going to be tied up most of the week, so didn't really feel confident that we were going to be able to get a show out tomorrow. So I wanted to make sure that we got it done and make sure you guys have one to listen to. A lot going on in the off-road world as we dive into the end of the season. Championships are being locked up, all sorts of stuff going on. We got some things to talk about on that front as well here coming up. But Craig, obviously you weren't at the GNCC this past weekend, but kind of following along, looking at things. What was your overall impression from the weekend as we head into two more rounds of GNCC racing?
Farmers are pissed off. It is not raining. It is dusty as can be. We actually thought about going to it, but we were all, after the Enduro 2 weeks ago, me and Eric were like, dude, there's no way. No, there'd be 2 more air filters down the drain. So looking at the results and everything, it was pretty, there's some big gaps, and I'd say vision was probably shit. Yeah. But just looking at it, it looked at exactly, I feel like always towards the end of the year there's like a drought, and Pennsylvania's always crap, High Point. High Point always sucks, and West Virginia always gets pretty dusty too. So kind of looked miserable is what it looked like to me.
Yeah. And last year at the Mountaineer GNCC, it was equally as terrifying for the dust, but it might have even been a little bit worse this year. And it kind of sucks, man, especially with the way that the season's gone. It seems like it's either a heavy mud or a heavy dust. Like, there's been very limited weekends where it's been perfect conditions. Obviously, no one can control the weather. We've heard of rain dates. I don't think there's going to be any dust dates coming anytime soon. But to your point, last weekend in Missouri, we saw the insane dust out there and how it affected the riding. And now this week, kind of the same thing, like standing around listening to the podium interviews, listening to the guys talk. It seems like a big theme of the day is pretty much where you started is where you ended. I don't know that there's any pro riders that talked about making, the podium guys that talked about making passes out on track. Like Strang, for instance, getting on the XC1 podium. He told me last night when we spoke that the only person that he passed all day was Mike Wachowski, and he did that in the pits. And it seemed like all three of the top three overall guys were also saying the same thing. Like, hey, man, it was impossible to pass. Pretty much ended how we started. Grant got to the front early. There was 2 whole shot awards given out for the same row. Everything that is going on in GNCC right now is kind of weird, kind of strange. We talked last race about, since there was only 4 people on the second row, hey, just throw everybody on the same row. This week, that's exactly what they did. So everyone out there went out and took off on the front row, which I didn't look and see what the overall number was, but it was a lot of people on that one row to make starts very, very, very critical, and I think that played a massive role in how the race turned out.
Yeah, I mean, seeing all year long, it's been a lot of freight train racing. Like, there's been a lot of up till like the halfway point and to the 2-lap card. There's been quite a bit of, short gaps in between everybody. Like, even if I'm not there and I'm watching live stream, it's 2 seconds back this person, 3 seconds back. They're just in line.
Yeah.
So you add that dust in, and then you can't really push to like pass because you can't see. And as fast as these guys are going, you can't really risk it just flying through the woods, not to be able to see shit. I mean, we've seen that with Josh getting hurt, and actually Ryan Piper got hurt in front of me when we were at Missouri. Just these guys can't see anything. So to that point, I was going to ask if they had everybody on the first row. Was XC3 row 2 then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And kind of to that point, too, like the Mountaineer and how rocky it is up there in West Virginia, that adds a whole other element. Like if it's a dusty Ironman, I feel like you can kind of send it a little bit more. One, the silt and the dust up in Indiana and even down here in the South, it has a lot more weight to it. Like it's a denser dust, so it kind of settles. Up there in West Virginia, it's like a silt baby powder. And out in the woods, man, chasing these guys around, filming and putting the video up on YouTube this week, that dust never settles. It just lingers. And there's
sits in the air.
Yeah, and you're in the valley, so there's no wind really getting through the woods. And, I mean, riders will come by, and by the time the next rider comes, there's no dust that's settled. It's still all just sitting there floating and lingering. And I think that combined with the fact that there could be rocks anywhere.
Yeah.
Make it a lot harder to push because it's one thing when you know the dirt's good, you might have some roots here and there, and you can kind of push. Like even if you can't see your front wheel, you can kind of gauge off the rider's head in front of you, see where it's moving, see where it's bouncing. But at a race like this, just the unpredictability of not knowing where those rocks are, if a rock got kicked out in the trail, if it's a boulder that's buried on the ground, like I feel like that adds a whole other element to racing blind, especially at those speeds.
Did you get that video of Grant Baylor wrecking? Was that you?
I did not.
Oh, I just seen, actually right when I pulled in, I was checking my phone and seeing that he posted him coming down the hill and back in slide and catching a tree and just kind of, did you see the video?
I did.
So a lot of, even with, even if vision wasn't too bad, like there's not much traction in those conditions. So pretty sketchy stuff. So, I mean, that's why I've seen a lot of people posting, like, I don't miss mud races. I love dust, because they're just trying to get, because everyone's been wanting a dry race all year long because it's been so wet. And now we got, I would argue that this dusty's more shit than mud. Yeah. So everyone's like, fuck, dude. We just want give me a good Ironman and a good John Penton. Because John Penton's one of them tracks coming up that in the dust, it is super hard packed, blue grooved kind of shit. But when it's muddy, everyone hates it. You hate it. I know you do. We have this conversation quite often.
I was going to say, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't believe that there is such a thing as a good John Penton.
Yeah, there is.
No matter the conditions.
Sometimes.
That place sucks.
Me and Eric Geese are going up there and being teammates, but I'm going to be Sportsman A, and I'm going to pit him for 3 hour.
There we go.
Local legends.
Teamwork makes the dream work. But, yeah, to that point, Grant Baylor was running decent, and then we saw him kind of pull off the track. Obviously, Big Brother Stu was out early on, and, that video that was posted, that had to have been Brooke, I imagine, that filmed it. Definitely seems like Brooke that wrote the caption and posted it. So I would imagine that it was longtime girlfriend Brooke Cosner that
I didn't know if Grant was calling himself the Grizzly. He said the Grizzly's going to be hurting after this for a while. And I was like, Grant, you fucking dog.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think that's what gave it away for me. But either way, it's on Grant's Instagram if you haven't seen it yet. Kind of goes down the hill into – there was a couple sections where there was springs that just kind of let loose. So there was like a couple really muddy sections. And he's kind of going downhill to it and back wheel swaps out, hits a tree, kicks him the other way, and he kind of goes ejecto-ceto. Looks like he took a tree straight to the kidney. Didn't get a chance to talk with him after the race, but
Feel bad for the tree.
hopefully he's all right. Yeah, I think the post even said, make sure the tree's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
Well played. But yeah, let's get right into it. We're going to start by digging up some results here, courtesy of DPG Dimmer's Precision Grading. They're a full-service grading company in the Greater Carolina region. No job too big, too small. It's a lot of ex-moto guys that work there and moving dirt around. So I believe they're actually hiring. I know I say that all the time. I've yet to confirm it, but I'm pretty sure they're hiring. If you're
a truck driver, they need a truck driver.
They do need a truck driver
Yeah.
for sure. But I think they need some operators too.
I'm not sure about operators right now.
Yeah.
I
So
think Sud Dog's putting in the time right now, so
I know
he's enjoying the overtime.
they lost a couple talents, but either way, if you're interested, no harm in asking. DimmersPrecisionGrading.com or hit up Brandon Dimmer on the socials. And yeah, you can get in touch with DPG as they help us dig up some results. Obviously, a lot of things to talk about. You know us. We get a little ranty. So we're going to go through the results first, and then we'll dive into the meat and potatoes of what's going on. We're going to start things out on the left coast, the west coast. There was a national hare and hound going on out there on the west coast. Where was this one at? Silver State Trailblazers. What's the Silver State?
I don't know why I think it's Colorado because I seen Mr. Brandon Krause out there this weekend.
No. Either way, they raced out there in the Silver State, wherever that may be. And Damon Woolslayer took the overall pro class win. Looks like he's kind of doing his own thing. Woolslayer Racing Husqvarna is what we got listed as the sponsors. So Damon Woolslayer had to have been a good ride of his own to go out there and take that pro class and overall win. In the number 2 spot was a guy that we are very familiar with. FMF Factory KTM Racing's Dante Oliveira would take the number 2 spot overall, and then Zane Roberts on that factory beta machine rounded out the overall podium. Taking a look down at the Pro 250 class, Ryder Tomaselli would take the win out there. Sam Pretscherer would be in the number 2 spot, the defending champion. And rounding out your top 3 in the Pro 250 class was Malcolm Pearson. Getting it done out there.
Good friend Brandon Krause in 18th.
Yeah, Brandon
18th
Krause.
overall.
Shout
Good
out.
buddy.
18th overall for old Brandon.
Looks like Ava Silvestri in the number 1 spot in the pro women.
Yep. Taking a look at our pro women's class, Ava Silvestri went out there and took the win. A lot of Team USA representatives out there in that hare and hound race. Ava Silvestri being one of them, won the club women's overall. And, of course, Zane Roberts was over there racing as well, Dante Oliveira. Shout out. But, yeah, in the number 2 spot, Rachel Stout with a stout ride to take second place overall in the pro women's standings. And then Catalina Springstroh would round out the women's pro class overall podium out there.
Woolslayer is such a badass last name.
It is a pretty cool name.
Yeah, and then the club's called Sugar Loafers. Like, let's fucking go.
They got it dialed in.
Yeah, they got it figured out over there. Top finish in Yamaha pro women also.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, she's the only one, but
Oh, of pro women.
top finish.
I thought you meant of the overall.
She might be, actually. I doubt it.
Overall 2 loops? Are we in the right thing?
Yeah. Darian Tuckett. Shout out.
Darren Tuckett.
That's my bad. Pro Vet 35 plus.
Top finish in Yamaha, 20th place overall.
Hell yeah.
Just ahead of Rachel Stout. So that is what happened out of the National Hare and Hound, your top 3 in your top 3 pro classes. Now, we will head back to the East Coast to the Summit Bechtel Reserve in Glenjean, West Virginia, just outside of Beckley, West Virginia. Like we mentioned, a little bit of dry conditions, a little dry, a little dusty out there. And so starts were going to be key. Everyone knew it. Everyone was going for it. Everyone was on the same line as they started this race as far as your XC1 and XC2 Pro riders. Defying the odds, taking 2 straight wins once again. We would normally say from the second row, but Now he's on the first row. Grant Davis, last race, he went from last to first to take the overall win and take the overall points lead. This weekend, he put an exclamation point on it. He goes out there, grabs the whole shot, never looks back. The first time I saw him was at the 8-mile marker, and I think he already had a minute on everybody. So he got out front, used the dust to his advantage, never looked back, took the win once again the day before his birthday, which is today, but by the time you're listening to it, it was yesterday. So happy birthday, Grant Davis, from 3 different days.
Yes, sir. Happy birthday.
The day before, the day on, and the day after. Jordan Ashburn. What a crazy few weeks that Jordan Ashburn has had. He won the XC1 class at the last GNCC. He wins the XC1 class again this weekend, second place overall. And right in between that GNCC sandwich, he went up and raced the hard enduro last weekend where he led a lot of it, won the prologue, and got second place overall. So I got a chance to speak with him just a little bit about that. And, yeah, quite an impressive few weeks here for Jordan Ashburn. As he takes second place spot on the overall podium. In the third place spot overall, also out of the XC2 class, Nick DeFeo on that RM Red Bear Racing Factory Kawasaki team gets back onto the overall podium and takes second place in that XC2 class, third place overall. So a great ride from Nick DeFeo, and he needed it. I mean, Nick is a guy with a ton of talent. We saw him win back-to-back Top Am honors. We saw him move up to XC2 at the beginning of this year. Well, he raced a couple races last year, but moved up this year, won Big Buck by 3.5 minutes, kind of shocked the world. And since then, he's ran up front, but he's been kind of trying to get the monkey off of his back and get back to that success. So a much-needed ride there from Nick DeFeo, third place overall, second place in class. Hopefully that'll get his confidence back. He was talking about on the podium how he got it sounds kind of counterintuitive to say, but while him coming out and winning Big Buck in the dominant fashion that he did was an amazing achievement, it could have been the worst thing to happen to Nick DeFeo this year.
Yeah.
And that sounds weird to say, dude. I love Nick DeFeo. Obviously, spent a lot of time with the team, spent a lot of time chatting with his parents, Frank and Elaine, both good friends. But coming into your rookie season, to go off with an overall win 3.5 minutes ahead, it sounds counterintuitive to say that there could be anything bad in that. But we talked to Nick. And his goal coming into the season was to kind of work and figure it out the first half of the season. And then by like summer break, he wanted to be getting like top fives and maybe sniffing the podium. Well, then you come out and overall the first round, I think that kind of puts a lot of pressure, a lot of weight, and a lot of unrealistic expectations on him.
Yeah.
And he kind of talked about that a little bit on the podium of like trying to find himself to get rid of the expectations and get back to how he knows that he's riding. And so him winning at Big Buck was amazing. Shocked the world. Third XC2 rider to win from the second row ever. First rider to ever do it physically out on the track. But since then, it's like, man, we've been on top of the mountain. Yeah. This is how every other race is going to be. And it just hasn't been the fact for him. He's been up front at several of them and had some issues here and there. But other than that, has been kind of plugging along. Fast forward to this past weekend, him getting on the overall podium might be the best thing that could have happened to him. So he started real high and kind of been riding the lows through that. And like I said, glimmers of great riding in there, just things outside of his control have kept him off of that XC2 podium. But now he's got it figured out. He's got the bike figured out. He's comfortable with the team, comfortable with the program, and comes out and gets on the overall podium. And you could tell just he was stoked as he came through the finish line. But yeah, hopefully that sparks that Nick DeFeo that we know, and that confidence continues to grow as we move into the last couple rounds of the season here.
Yeah, we saw a lot of that confidence, too, in the National Enduro Series where he wrapped up the Pro 2 Championship. So I've been on his road quite a few times and talked to him throughout, and he's super he talked about a little bit of those struggles with me, too, just saying, like, you know, if it wasn't me having a bad day, you know, we was mud conditions, had trouble with the bike, but now that he's got everything figured out, like I think he had, I forget how many wins he had in the Pro 2 class, but it was super competitive class. I mean, you had Gus Reardon in there quite a bit.
Did he wrap up that championship?
Yeah, last weekend. 2 weekends ago, I guess.
I need to get with their social media guy.
Yeah.
Because I was unaware of that. And I
I'm-
didn't see any championship photos or
I
championship
seen
shirts or
the
number one
Kawasaki
plates.
put a thing out because Eric won Open A, and Kawasaki put like early championship wrap up thing out, and Nick won Pro 2.
Let me make a note of that. That is
Hey, real quick, since I'm saying these things, I know
to
that's
me.
fact. Let me pull this up because if you didn't know, I feel real dumb real quick.
I never saw any pictures or anything come through. So yeah, I'll make a note of that. Need to double check on that.
Kawasaki Racing.
If he did, shout out Nick DeFeo getting it done. So
don't see anything.
this weekend at the team dinner, he did say that he didn't want to race Pro 1 next year. So I guess if he wrapped up the championship, or could it be a situation where like he just basically has to show up to the next one to wrap it up?
I'm pretty sure they put a thing where he wrapped it up. Oh yeah, I was gonna look at Rocky Mountain Red Bear, but their guy didn't put a thing out.
Oops. Yeah, we'll double check on that and get back to you. But either way, what a couple great weeks for Nick DeFeo if he was able to take that win last weekend and wrap up the championship. Second XC2, third place overall. Ben Kelly might be one of the highlights of the weekend this past weekend. Let me see. I guess lap times are only going to show. Are only going to show where he was at in his class. But let's see if we can pull up some lap times here as we navigate this wonderful GNCC results page. And I don't say that sarcastically. This is after looking at all these results and pulling up these national Hare and Hound results, GNCC does have results figured out. Very easy to navigate and get through here. Ben Kelly, 4th place on lap 1, 4th place lap 2. 4th moves into 3rd and then moves into 2nd. But those 4th place laps at the beginning of the race, I'm pretty sure he was all the way back into like the 8th, 9th place spot overall, if I'm not mistaken. Because I think he was out of the bonus points area where it quits taking off such big chunks of them.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say, a highlight of the weekend is the way that Ben Kelly rode. Ben Kelly has an overall championship on the line, maybe, possibly. Maybe not. I don't know if that exists. We're going to talk about that. Don't you worry. Stirred up a little controversy on social media. Sorry about it, but we're going to get into it and talk about it in a second. But either way, according to his contract and his bonus structure, he has an overall championship to win. He is battling for that overall championship, that XC1 championship. And we talked about starts are key. The not being able to pass and the riding in the dust was going to be hard, was going to make for a tough day. Ben Kelly was buried back in the pack, and Ben Kelly took out his shovel, and regardless of the rocks in West Virginia, he dug his way back up to the front, making a pass in the last corner to take one more spot, which was worth, I think, 2 or 3 points from Josh Strang in that overall championship. So Ben Kelly, what a ride. He knows that it's coming down to the wire. He knows what he has to do to get up there, and he did that all race long as he worked his way through the pack. Ended up being 2nd place in XC2, 4th place overall. That puts a 12-point difference between race winner Grant Davis and Ben Kelly. Grant came into it 8 points up. He put 12 points on Ben Kelly with that, but that hole could have been a lot worse. If Ben Kelly would have stayed back and not been able to make some passes and finished in that 7th, 8th place spot overall, that would have been killer as we head into the last couple rounds. So Ben Kelly salvaging every point that he can, especially even coming down to the wire, that last turn, making the pass over Josh Strang to take 2nd in XC2 and 4th place overall. Now that 12-point gap difference and the 8-point lead Grant had coming into it, he now has 20 points going into the final 2 rounds. That means if Ben Kelly, what did we determine? The points are, so he's 10 points up. If Ben Kelly gets 11th or worse overall, championship's over, a round early. If that's saying if Grant Davis wins. So Ben Kelly also mentioned on the podium, he's got to be up front, and he's hoping that some people can kind of get up in the mix and create some separation between himself and Grant Davis, as Grant Davis has been able to do these first 2 rounds coming back from summer break. So the championship, 20-point gap as we head into the last 2 rounds, but still far from over. Anything can happen. As we know, XC1, there are no drops, and every point counts. So
Yeah, and quick announcement. I was 100% wrong on the National Enduro points. It must have just been a Nicholas DeFeo won. I was wrong. Nicholas DeFeo has 147 points. Jack Walker's 144. So sorry, Jack. Sorry, Nick. My bad. Misinformation.
Maybe you should say sorry to my employers too. You almost got me fired.
I'm not sorry. I'm not getting. It's not me. It's not my employer.
I'm just thankful that I didn't. That would be a big thing to miss. I was already thinking in my head
Holy
like,
shit!
how do we do this a week and a half later? Like, hey, by the way, we won a championship last week.
Yeah, that's 100% my bad. I still had dust up with my brain. My bad.
So not thank goodness that he didn't wrap it up yet, but kind of thank goodness that he didn't wrap it up and it got missed.
Thank goodness he's in the lead. How about that?
Yeah. He's got a strong ride going, but Jack Walker looking to make the two-stroke work. Getting back to our GNCC results now, rounding out the top 5 fastest riders overall, third place in the XC1 class was none other than 37-year-old Aussie-American Beta team manager, Beta team rider Josh Strang, putting the Beta on the overall box for the first time in this regime of the Beta racing team with Josh Strang at the helm. So shout out to Josh Strang. Super pumped. Like couldn't explain how pumped I was. Josh Strang, good buddy of the program, was able to get top 5 overall, third place in the class, and he did specify that his bonus structure is for XC1. He's cashing the paycheck for third place.
Hell yeah, party time. Mav's getting some new britches.
Oh yeah.
Shit yeah.
So I bet the Beta boys will be being treated to a good dinner this weekend. Strang's definitely big on celebrating those podiums.
Hell yeah,
So,
sports page for the boys.
Oh yeah. But shout out Josh. He kind of went up on the podium too and got a little emotional, rightfully so. Like in the twilight of the career. Hopefully we can see year 20 happen next year. But Josh is at the point where he will admittedly say, don't know how many of these podiums are left in the tank. And I mean the way that he rides when he's on it like that, there's still. I don't think that this is the last time we'll see him up on the podium, especially heading to the John Penton. Obviously, Josh Strang has a history of riding really well. I think he's got several gas tanks and whatever else they gave away at the other John Penton, the Baroque.
Yeah, he won it during the Mudder 2 years ago, or was it 3 years ago now? And
I think 3 years.
He'd win a couple, like maybe a year or two without a win. Yeah, and popped up and smoked everybody's ass. So
with the bones in his arms not even touching.
Yeah, can do it.
That's when he came back from his broken arm, and then later would find out it wasn't healed, it wasn't growing back together, and he won that race before the second surgery. So Josh Strang, he on the podium too. Like I said, he got a little emotional there, rightfully so. Like Strang is a guy that not afraid to get into the feelings, I guess would be a good way to put it. He's just a really genuine dude. And so he was up there, and so that was it's cool to see him sharing that with his family, especially now that his boys are kind of getting to the age where they understand what's going on and what's happening and get to join him up there on the podium. So super pumped to see Strang get up there. He did mention that he's kind of filling the gap before they can get a top guy on that bike and show what it's really capable of. And I called him on the way home last night and kind of yelled at him. I was like, dude, you're not filling no damn gap, dude. You've been up towards the front all year. You're on the podium, man. Yeah, so all the credit to Josh Strang. Still getting it done in the conditions at the ripe age, 37 years old.
Man, you're running that in the ground, ain't you?
What?
The ripe age of 37.
Well, no, I mean, his age in this sport becomes such a big topic. But Strang is still riding bikes. He's still working out with the best of them. Got the regimen. He's in shape. He really focuses on the off the bike stuff and keeping his fitness up there. So
I didn't realize he was that old. I didn't realize he was 37. But I guess that kind of makes sense because he came here when he was 17, and that was. He first started with Suzuki in 06.
This is year 19.
Holy shit.
In America for Strang. But the reason I kind of pick on him and say the age and all that stuff is because it shouldn't be a limiting factor. He's still up there. He's had a really good season this year. As far as his results, he's right around the top 5. It seems like every race, and so it's there comes a point where age, I feel isn't such a determining factor. And his ride at ISDE in Italy, 6 days of racing and top 20 overall, top. I think top Australian, one of the top Americans.
How old is Grant and Nick DeFeo?
I kind of say the age single string in a facetious manner, saying that it's not a limiting factor, and he continues to prove that. I believe that they're both 19.
So
they're either both 19 or Nick might be 18, but I think Grant is. Well, maybe he turned 20 today. I don't know.
Dude, that's pretty badass. He's 5th. He's almost 20 years older than 1st and 3rd overall. That's fucking sweet.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, that's like I was also talking to Grant's mom after the race this weekend, and she was kind of mentioning about how Grant would go home and study these guys' lines, look at the pro class, see what they were doing differently, look at the GoPro videos, and look at the lap times, and really became a student of those pro riders, and now it's those same pro riders that he's competing and earning a paycheck against, and on the precipice of getting a championship against. Which is really cool when you think about it that way and see what he's been able to do with his career. Because, I mean, his first year in XC2, he didn't podium until the very last round of the season. And now he's been just on fire ever since.
Yeah.
And then also, seeing the guys that he looked up to on mini bikes coming up and, saying congrats and congratulating him after wins, I think is a really cool and really unique experience that he's going through at the moment.
Yeah, I agree.
Back to our results here. Brody Johnson, 6th place overall. Great ride from Brody Johnson. That's going to get him on the XC2 podium with a 3rd place finish. Even after the race win, after the interviews, after all that, Grant Davis walks over to Brody Johnson, gives him a big hug, and said, "You finally did it. We get to get up here on the podium together." So it's cool. Those two dudes are good friends. They ride and train together a lot. So cool to see Brody do what we all know that Brody Johnson is capable of. I mean, the way that he rides at the Mid-East races, the way that he has ridden at the Nationals this year, doing it completely on his own dime, privateer program, buying Hondas. And if you walk by the Johnson pits, go take a look at that Honda. Those things they get their use. Let's just say that about the Johnson boys' bikes. And,
he's on a year-old bike too, right? He's on a 24.
Yeah.
The same bike from last year.
Yeah.
The bike he started racing at the beginning of the year, and then he got the beta support ride.
Yep.
He just didn't touch his Honda anymore. Same one.
Yeah, I believe so.
Hell yeah.
That might have been the raffle bike. I don't know. I have to double check. But either way, they're doing it on their own dime and doing it on their own program. So to see Brody just outside the top 5 and on the XC2 podium, all things considered, is a really cool ride from Brody as well. Especially, we've talked about it on the show before, the top AM days of Brody, back in 2018, 2019, that's when it seems like he was going to move in and be a top XC2 guys, and battled a couple gnarly injuries and kind of took a little bit of time to get back to this version of Brody Johnson, the old version of Brody Johnson, and it's kind of cool to see him coming back into that. In the 7th place spot, Caleb Russell was able to manage to ride up to the 7th place spot overall. I believe that was 4th in XC1. So Caleb Russell, another guy, been working hard to figure out that bike, been testing a lot to figure out that bike. Obviously making the switch to Yamaha now, the mass centralization, what that does to the geometry of the motorcycle. Caleb Russell's been trying to figure that thing out. Definitely not from lack of trying. Obviously the most accomplished rider in the sport, and now he's plugging his way back up there. So got to be obviously not on the podium, not a win, but still got to be a confidence-inspiring ride for Caleb to be taking those steps to get back on the right track as he goes out there 7th place overall. Mike Wachowski, 8th place spot overall. Craig DeLong in 9th. And then Ryder Lafferty, also kind of doing his own thing, riding a Honda on the privateer program. He showed up. He raced Mid-East last weekend, was running pretty good at Mid-East, ended up doing an old radiator delete, and ended up having to come off the track early. So
excellent.
Had the radiators back on the bike this past weekend and rode to a top 10 finish. So
I'm just sliding over to look at the elapsed time, which is way the heck over here. Looking at, I was just seeing how close these guys were, but yeah.
Grant Davis, 2.5 minutes out in front.
Then look how like 3rd through 5th, 6th, everyone's pretty close. That dust, I'm telling you.
About 40 seconds between 2nd and 3rd place. I was kind of trying to read some of those times there and do quick math for the folks that are listening afterwards, not seeing
I
it
will
on
say
screen.
something, too, about the dust, and actually I heard this from Stu because he was a couple rows behind me in Missouri. I forget exactly where I was at compared to. But I was on row 29, and then on 31 was Toby Cleveland, and then 32 would have been Stu, or however that was. Anyway, so Stu not only was catching everybody ahead of him, but then Toby Cleveland, he was a little bit faster than. So the whole time where he was passing guys, he'd have dust come and he'd pass. Well, then it'd still be dust. Well, it was because he was catching Toby the whole time. So it was kind of interesting talking to Stu a little bit, just hearing him talk to his mechanic and just the guys over there at Rocky Mountain Red Bear. He's like, man, every time I catch somebody, I'm still catching Toby, and I got until I get past Toby, then I finally have a clear track because he's all the time catching. Toby's 1 minute ahead of him, so he's a row ahead of him.
Yeah.
So he said 2 miles in, I'm starting to catch Toby's dust, but I'm also catching the guys Toby and me are also passing. So it is kind of shitty how the format of how the rows are at National Enduro kind of. Like, it plays a good part because the pros have their pro rows and pro 2 and pro women. But then you also throw guys like me in Open A who are substantially slower, obviously, than the pro guys. And then there could be C guys on my rows too. So those guys are going through the dust, which I wasn't there this weekend, obviously, but I know how dusty it was in Missouri. The dust, catching it and like kind of playing cat and mouse, you're kind of just like you're not really you're just chasing nothing almost because you're not knowing who's in front of you. You just see a dust cloud and it's not even the person you're looking for. So just kind of looking at the lapse times over here from the weekend, it's like those guys might see at the end of a straight stretch, oh, there's someone right there. That must be who I'm looking for. Might have an orange helmet. One of the guys they think they're chasing down might have an orange helmet, and you show up and it's a Open B guy or you're lapping, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that's who. So the dust plays a lot of games on you, too, a little bit of mind games. You kind of got to watch what you do as well as not catching something you can't see in the trail.
Yeah. And to that point, too, not taking anything away from Ricky Russell, because I went up and talked to him a little bit this weekend. I was like, dude, you rode like an insane person that does not care about their health and well-being to be able to win by as much as he did in Missouri at that Enduro. So an awesome ride by Ricky Russell. But I was talking to it might have been Nick DeFeo. I was talking with someone. Sorry if I'm wrong about that, but I was talking with someone and basically saying that so those that don't know, kind of like you were saying, Craig, that the pro riders at National Enduro, there's one per row. And then there's Pro 2 riders, and the Pro 2 riders are one per row.
Yeah.
And they kind of space them out that way. So kind of same thing. You don't got 3 pro riders on one row with 2 C riders or whatever. They kind of make it fair. Well, from what I understand, Toth was on the row in front of Ricky, and there was only one other person on that row. It was Grant Baylor that I was talking to about this. Grant got second. But he was saying that there was one person in Toth in front of Ricky. Well, Toth got hurt in the first test. So then Ricky only had one person on the row in front of him. So that gave him a pretty big advantage to be able to not have the dust and kind of get through that. And then once Toth went out, obviously no one wants to see that. But once Toth went out and it was just that one rider in front of him, he kind of got a lot more clean air than anybody else, which kind of does make sense. With I think, did he win by 1 minute or 2 minutes? Or I think it was 2 minutes.
I'm not 100% sure on the elapsed times.
Yeah. But that I could see being a big advantage because Grant was talking about there's 6 people in a pro rider on the row in front of him.
Yeah.
And so having just one rider in front of you for 5 tests, that's got to make a pretty big difference.
And for the people like,
but it doesn't take away from what Ricky Russell did.
Oh, for sure. Well, and this to give this perspective, I was on row 29 is what I was on. So Toby was on 31, Stu was on 32. So at the start of the day, I'm in points for National Enduros, right? So in my mind, the guys that were in, I had 3 Open A guys on my row, 1 Pro 2 and 1 250A. The Pro 2 guy didn't show up. So I thought, hey guys, I'm in points. I'm going to try to go. If you guys are faster than me, I'll let you by. So we all go. I go into the woods second. I could not see my front fender from the one guy ahead of me. And then me and him kind of get away and got to looking, and I literally could not see anything. And we already caught the guys ahead of us. I just pulled over. I mean, I just kept hitting stuff. And like I hadn't wrecked yet. I pull over. I let the 2 Open A guys in the row go. And I just sit there for about 20 seconds. And I wait. Then I wait. And then I can finally see. And I take off. And then we start catching the guys again. It was, honestly, I don't even mean to sound like a bitch. It sucked. And I have terrible judge skills anyway, even when I can see. So, and they had a mud race there a couple weeks prior. So there was a lot of like hard packed ruts. So you're riding in a straight line, then all of a sudden you hit these ruts that go to the right, and you couldn't see the arrows. So I was just eating shit and yard sailing. So actually talking to Toth, that's what he'd said. He said, I don't really know what I hit. He said because it was dusty, but he said I thought I had a clear track in front of me. And then I hit either a hard packed rut or I hit a rock and it pinballed me, and that's when I hit the tree. But just it was dusty as crap. Like it was horribly dusty. So if Ricky had a minute of no dust, that is excellent. Because even talking to Stu after the first test, he said, dude, that was absolutely terrible. He said that was the worst National Enduro test, dust-wise, I've ever had in my life. So Rick having the first test, obviously, he briefly stopped, talked to Josh, make sure he was alive, took back off. After that, that is a pretty big deal to have, is to not have all that dust. Because it was very bad. So to your point, I 100% agree. I think Rick had good luck, but either way, even when Rick was catching me and catching the guys ahead of us, he did look different when he passed. He was just didn't give a shit. Just pinballing.
Yeah.
So a bunch of those black lava rocks there too that you kind of hit and it just absolutely does whatever it wants with the front end, like you pinball off. And whenever he passed me, he was just all rev limiter. Didn't give a shit.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Still an insane ride no matter what. But then you look at that, this had to have been just as dusty.
I guarantee, yeah.
Up there in West Virginia, but kind of same thing. You're not separated by the rows. You just got a circuit of 100 and however many racers out there just stirring up dust every which way. And it's not like the lappers are making any less dust than the pros. Like they're still throwing up dust screens as we go by there. But man, there was a couple spots where I went to film where like couldn't even see guys coming. Like it was so bad. So what's that for?
My flight instructor just texted me and said he is quitting indefinitely.
Oh, I thought you said your flight instructor was a girl.
It is now.
Congratulations on their transition.
Easy, brother.
Why did it change from 30 minutes ago?
Well, okay, so
we'll talk about that later. Back to the results. Some other notables to mention. We'll find the XC3 riders. If you don't mind.
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, so this would be the overall.
XC3, only 2 more rounds of XC3 racing in its entire existence to go. Jonathan Johnson doing what Jonathan Johnson does. He goes out there and gets the win, but James Jenkins kept him honest, dude. James Jenkins was up there riding a good race as well. James will be the inevitable champion. They might have gave it out the other day. If they did, I'm really sorry. But if he didn't wrap it up already, it's got to be at the point where he should be wrapping that thing up. But Jonathan Johnson goes out there, takes the win. Talked to Johnny a little bit. He was feeling himself. He was already at the back half of the lead pack there in after one lap of racing. So Jonathan Johnson, I don't know if I should say this, but he did say that it's the worst 125 he's ever ridden. I don't think he has any deals with manufacturers, so sorry about it. But and granted, you can make those bikes whatever you want them to be.
Yeah.
In its current configuration, I think it's kind of tough for him to ride. But he's still going out there and getting it done. James Jenkins in the number 2 spot. He is on the best 125 that you could possibly get because it is a Yamaha. For whatever reason, my best overalls that I ever had in my racing career were on a YZ125. I raced 450s, 250s, everything. And my best overalls, for whatever reason, on a YZ125. James Jenkins making that Yamaha work as well. And then Rayler Messer, who has a little bit of support from Beta, would land on the XC3 podium with a 3rd place overall. And we'll go back to our overall results there, check in with our top AM riders before we move into our WXC, and then we move into the storylines of the weekend. Taking the top AM honors on the day, I do believe it was Cooper Jones, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Cooper Jones, 14th overall.
So Cooper Jones getting it done. I know his family was at the finish line. They were pretty pumped up about the ride that Cooper Jones put in. Lane Whitmer would end up second on the overall amateur top am podium, second place in 250A as well. And then the third place rider on the box, Ryan Amancio. How about that? Ryan Amancio getting it done. I didn't see JoJo out there. Did JoJo race? Did I miss something?
Yeah, JoJo wrecked on the first lap. He texted me here yesterday. Let me quote him with what he texted me back. You're going to love this.
Cole Whitmer sat this one out. Cole Whitmer has that Open A championship locked up. He had a practice crash, hurt his back. So he made the decision to not race this weekend.
Yeah, I had texted JoJo yesterday evening. That's asked me if he's good, and he said he hit a dust berm. Said it's so deep it stopped my bike, threw me over the bars, ripped my visor off, whole left sleeve, left hand guard, starter button, and a good chunk of the seat cover. But yeah, I'm good. So it sounds like 250A again at John Penton, and then hopefully lock it up for the amateur overall and go into Ironman and XC2.
I don't know if I clicked the right thing there.
What are you looking for?
WXC.
Oh, here.
So unfortunate for JoJo. Also, Jesse Ansley, after missing the buckwheat round, lined up to take off on the front row in XC1 again this past weekend. He had a pretty gnarly crash. Going up one of the main service roads, like after the finish, goes up alongside of it. He and his bike were all the way down the hill on the service road. The track is up the hill to the right. Jesse was at the bottom of the hill. So I don't know if he fell all the way down that hill or if he fell halfway down the hill and they got his bike and him down to the service road. Either way, his elbow was a little bit banged up. Talked to him a little bit last night. Said nothing's broken. Everything's fine. So that's good. But at the time, it seemed a little scary. Helped track down some track officials to tend to Jesse, but glad to hear that he is relatively okay, unbroken from what he said. So, yeah. In the WXC class, Brandy Richards would end up taking the win over Rachel Archer. Danielle McDonald on that Yamaha in the number 3 spot. Danielle McDonald, I think, has been riding a very impressive run this year.
Yeah.
She came over. She sat out the first couple rounds, still recovering from an ACL surgery. We saw her a little bit last year, but with the speed and the level of the WXC class, it's kind of tough to see where newcomers will fit in at. Danielle McDonald continues to prove that she belongs up there in those top 3 in the WXC class on that Yamaha. So putting on some really good rides, and only we'll see her get stronger, I would imagine. But yeah, grabs the podium spot this past weekend once again. And then Corey Steed, who is locked in a championship battle with Rachel Archer, 4th place overall. Shelby Turner in 5th. Carly Lee, Addison Harris, and Ellie Winland all round out the WXC class. Rachel Archer had a minute 15 seconds with 2 laps left to go. She kind of controlled the pace of the race, and then she ended up getting tangled up with a lapper and went down. And believe when she went down, that is when Brandy got around her.
Yeah.
But she didn't see Brandy get around her. So I was sitting there talking to her at the finish line right before they went up to the podium and just kind of asking her about the race and about the track and stuff. So I was like, where did Brandy get you at? She's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, Brandy, where'd she pass you at? Like, were you able to catch back up to her? Like, what was going on? She's like, I won, didn't I? And I was like, nah, you're in second. And she's like, I really thought that I won that race. And like, she was super confused, like legitimately didn't realize that she won. But if you look at they did 3 laps. Her second lap was like a minute and a half slower. And then all the other lap times between the two of them were pretty consistent. They run 4 laps?
4 laps.
Well, 3rd lap, whatever it was.
Yeah,
But,
we can pull up lap times if we needed to.
So, Brandy Richards, very strong competitor. She went up on the podium. She got pretty emotional as well. I kind of missed what she said right before that, but she broke down a little bit on the podium. Obviously, with what she went through this year, breaking her femur at Camp Coker, making it to the ISDE, leading the majority of the buckwheat, and now taking the win at Mountaineer this past weekend. Brandy Richards on fire, running really good races out there. Got the lap times. Was it lap 2 or 3?
Yeah, so on lap 2, she lost about 20 seconds, but on lap 3, she's about a minute and a half off of Brandy's time. So it looks like on lap 3 is when she went down.
So they're running in the 30s to 31, and then lap 3, Rachel with a 32:56, almost 33 minutes, and Brandy with a 31.5.
Yeah, and then last lap she goes 32:27 to Brandy's 32:45, so she was trying to make up some time, and just didn't get her.
Well, I think in the chaos of her going down, didn't realize Brandy got around her, so she wasn't even trying to make up time. She thought she was winning.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, that battle is going to come down to the wire between her and Corey. Are you able to pull up WXC points real quick?
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter too much because they get 2 drops, and I cannot do that math on the fly. But, yeah, Brandy Richards, obviously a very emotional win for her to go out there and get this past weekend. So, shout out to her. She, like we mentioned, last year, Brandy and Rachel tied on race wins throughout the season. It was kind of the rest of the stuff that separated the championship there. So, Brandy Richards making her way back to the top and taking the win. We take a look here at the WXC points. Is that 282 and 262?
It is. 20-point difference, just like same thing we got in the overall then.
Yeah, but this is not with 2 drops factored in.
Okay.
So WXC will get 2 drops. And just looking at it real quick, Rachel's going to drop 2 fourth-place finishes, and Corey is going to drop a 7th and a 4th. Rachel has 5 wins to Corey Steed's 4. Corey with a couple thirds that will count, and Rachel with 1/3 that will count, and the rest are seconds. So you break it down, that's a lot closer than you would think, I would imagine.
Yeah, Corey really needs to win the last 2 races and hope Rachel gets outside the top 3 or something stupid happens. But I also don't know how to math, so I don't know exactly how close it is, but close to what it's showing for total points as of now.
Yeah, take this with a grain of salt because we're just glancing at this right now. We're not breaking out the calculator, but just looking at it as a whole, if Corey won out,
be pretty close.
Yeah, I think that she might get the championship, especially if Rachel falls to a 3rd. I mean, 3rd to 1st is 9 points. And the
wild card's going to be Brandy Richards since she's back, and she's, obviously a contender winning this past weekend. So if Corey can somehow win, Brandy could be coming in behind her and then push Rachel outside 2/3. That would be huge.
Yeah.
So.
Or even Danielle. I mean, Danielle bumped Rachel off the podium at Buckwheat.
Yep.
Rachel finished 4th. And then Danielle pushed Corey off the podium this past weekend.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Shelby Turner. Shelby Turner has got several podiums on the year. She's got a win last year. Like, all it takes is a really crappy Penton, and Shelby Turner's going to be in the mix as well. And then Rachel Goodish, I know she's racing overseas and stuff right now, but, I mean, you can never count her out when she shows up either. I don't know what Taylor Jones's plans are for the rest of the year. I think she might be done for the year from that injury, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, that is a championship battle that is far from over. One battle that is over is the XC1 points champion, I guess. Obviously, stirred up some stuff on social media. The other thing I want to point out, what happened to Thad? Where did Thad finish? Was he in the results? I remember seeing him at first, and then I didn't see him afterwards. He could have just finished somewhere, but I don't remember seeing him on track. I got pretty much everyone in camera, with everyone starting on one row. Very conducive for filming. I enjoy it from that aspect.
Thad is outside the top 30.
So something must happen. Click XC1.
Yeah. If I could back this thing up, this thing's...
No. Just click it over in the class.
Dude, this thing's like space travel. There we go. 2 laps.
2 laps. So I wonder what happened with that. I wonder if that's bike or body. I don't remember seeing anything about it.
Yeah, hopefully bike.
Hopefully bike. Stu Baylor. I know that was one thing I got a lot of texts about what happened to him. So Big Tom actually pointed this out when they were coming through. Stu's shock was not rebounding. And so, led us to believe or wonder if he was having a shock issue. All of a sudden, the second lap, he doesn't come back around. And that's when kind of saw his mechanic, Garrett, out in the woods, asked him what was going on. It was a shock. So from my understanding, it was a brand new shock. And I guess one of the valves broke loose and it let all the oil through and it wouldn't let
Oh,
it
no.
back. So it's the opposite problem of what we typically see with a blown shock. A lot of times with a blown shock, you lose your compression, and it's just you're basically riding on a spring like a pogo stick.
Yeah.
Stu actually did the opposite. He wasn't getting any rebound, and so his shock was just packing the whole time. And I had a video pulled up that I was going to play, but I didn't get it over to that computer, so we can't look at it. But in the YouTube video, if you look at the first two shots with Stu in it, you can kind of see that back wheel packs up in there and never rebounds. So just got to a point where he couldn't ride the track in the conditions. But I heard it was a brand new shock. So I think it was just kind of a freak thing that happened.
Yeah.
But that's what ended Stu's day early.
Similar issues with Thad. It looks like a bent shifter and some shock issues for Thad, which has kind of been a reoccurring thing for him too. It kind of stinks. So hopefully he gets his stuff figured out and comes back to Penton, because I'm pretty sure Penton's about an hour from his place. So
Yeah.
hopefully he stays local, does good.
Bummer for both of them,
Yeah.
for sure. So now to get into the topics from the weekend, I feel like there's something else too, but the one that is on our mind caused a little bit of a stir last night on social media. We're standing around at the podiums. I stuck around because Brody was on the XC2 podium, Strang was on the XC1 podium, so I kind of wanted to stay and support the boys for being up there. And while we were up there, Ben comes up on the XC1 podium with a number 1 plate on his bike and a number 1 jersey on. And it kind of shocked there. Like, I don't know if anybody was expecting that. I don't know if anybody knew that was happening. And kind of the weird thing about it is this predicament that we've been put in with Grant Davis doing what he's doing, because we've never seen that happen before. So it's all kind of new territory, and it kind of leads this into where do we go from here? What do we do? And I will say up front, last night I posted some things. Turned out I was wrong about a specific aspect of it. And so kind of just going to go through this thing here and kind of bring it back. So the thing that I posted yesterday was Stu Baylor's points from 2023, and then the XC1 plate that Ben Kelly was awarded yesterday. And I want to start things off by first saying this is a really tough thing to talk about. And I got messages from people last night saying that they were happy that I brought it to the light, and that's what we're going to do now is kind of talk about it in an open forum and talk about what's going on. But there are people in the industry, people that are relevant, people that matter, people that may not necessarily be able to say anything about it. So it's not just me. It's kind of me speaking on behalf of everyone just to say, what is going on here? In 2023, Stu Baylor won XC1 points. Now, those that don't understand that, or if you were looking up the 2023 points, they have since been changed. So, I posted the original screenshot from the original points of 2023, and Stu Baylor did have more XC1 points than Craig DeLong, but Craig DeLong had more overall points. Now, you may be wondering, how does that happen? Very simple. The points are scored the same off the top 20 overall as they are in each pro class. For instance, if you get a third place in class, that is 21 points. If you get, let's use Strang for an example. Strang got third place in XC1 this past weekend. That's 21 points. He got fifth place overall. Fifth place overall is 16 points. So he got 21 class points and 16 overall points. So when, let's say, you DNF a race, which happened with Stu, I think it was round 5 of 2023, he DNF'd. That gave him 8th place points in XC1. 8th place points in XC1 is 13 points. That gave him 0 points in the overall because he was outside the top 20. You don't score, or you don't get in the top 20, you don't score any overall points. So that is how the discrepancies can be made. That is how someone that is behind in overall points can be ahead in class points, because you can score class points not in the top 20. You cannot score overall points when you're not in the top 20. That leads us into this year and what is going on. Ben Kelly is way above everybody in XC1 points. When you look at the overall point standings right now, so this is the overall. Obviously, we talked about 20 points being the gap between Ben Kelly and Grant Davis. Are the XC1 points still pulled up there?
Or
Or maybe I pulled,
Only class points?
I think I pulled that up on my computer. That's XC2 points.
Here, I can change it real quick right here. Overall points for XC1, correct?
Yeah. So taking a look at overall points for XC1, Liam Draper is in the number 2 spot, the closest to Ben Kelly. Their scores are 227 to 150. Keep in mind, every race counts in this XC1 Pro class. So right now, Ben Kelly has a 77-point lead. That gives him more than 60. The max points that Liam can score in the final 2 rounds is 60 points. That is why Ben Kelly wrapped up the XC1 points. There cannot be an XC1 rider that scores more points than him. Where this gets weird, and what we're going to talk about, is when you look at the rules page of the GNCCs, and this is the part that I was wrong about last night, and I will say that it is wrong. It says on there, and we got it on screen for those watching on YouTube, for the XC1 class ranking shall be consistent with the overall national ranking of racers, excluding racers from other classes. That is the part that I did not account for, excluding racers in other classes. So, last night when we were talking about it, and we've talked about it several times on the show this year, one of the things that we talked about is what happens, and it's kind of been on everyone's mind, is what happens if one of them wins the overall and one of them wins the class. Well, now we are getting closer and closer to that situation. As we approach the end of the season. Trying to get my thoughts together because this is going to be a sensitive subject. People are going to get mad, so I want to make sure that I say it right. Without that caveat on there of exclusive other racers in the classes, the way that I understood it is that there was only an XC1 championship. Turns out, the way that the rules are written right now, there is no overall championship. So that is why they gave the plate to Ben Kelly yesterday, because he won the XC1 overall championship. The reason I brought up the stuff with Stu in the past is because when he won XC1 points back in the day, he did not get awarded an XC1 championship plate because Craig DeLong had more overall points. This is a little bit different because the guy battling in the overall is in another class, and the rules do say minus racers in other classes. But still, recognizing an XC1 champion and not recognizing the overall champion that's what brought it back to the 2023 conversation. But now we're in this situation where, according to the rules, there is no overall championship that is mentioned. And it says, if you scroll up a little bit right there, all classes will be recognized as separate national class championships. Class championships will be determined by the racer's best finish in the following number of events. Now, where this comes into play is that there is no acknowledgement of an overall championship. So right now, what is Grant Davis battling for? He is the overall points leader. But the XC1 championship was given out to Ben Kelly because no one else in the XC1 class can catch Ben Kelly in overall points. Therefore, he gets the XC1 championship. So, 2 things about this. One, what are we going to do if Grant Davis wins the overall? There's still a lot of racing left to go.
Yeah.
Practice crashes happen. Crashes during the race happen. DNFs happen. That could drastically change the shift of this thing. Grant finishes outside the top 20 at the next round, and Ben wins. That's 30 points. Now Ben's up 10 going into Ironman.
Yeah.
Where right now Grant's up 20. That's how quickly this whole thing can change. So this thing is far from decided. It is far from over. I think these rows were separated to stop this from being a potential of happening, and Grant Davis has proved just what he said when this news came out, that he was excited about it, and he thought this was a benefit as he went out and won for 2.5 minutes this round, and the round before, he went from dead last and passed everybody on a track that everyone said no one can pass on, and won. Yeah. So, now, if he wins the overall, are we just going to not acknowledge that? Are we going to create another overall championship? I think the confusion leads to what do we do from here? And once again, if Ben goes out there and wins the next 2 rounds, Grant finishes off the podium, and Ben ends up winning the championship, all of this discussion all year was for nothing. It worked out the way that it was meant to. It worked out the way that it always has. The overall champ and the XC1 champ is the same person. But on the flip side of that, there's 2 different scenarios that can happen. Right now, he is up what was it? 39 points, 40 points.
In
He's up-
XC2?
yeah, 40, right?
Yeah, and the scenario we talked about was he has to get 13th or better in the next race. And
Yeah.
There's not 13 people that ever show up in XC2. So as long as he shows up to John Penton, he will. Here, I can pull it up.
So right now it's 295 to 255. So yeah, he is 50 points up. As we mentioned, there's 60 points available left to go. So basically, Grant Davis has to show up and score 10 points. If he scores 10 points, he puts it out of reach. That's 11th place. This past weekend, there was 8 riders in XC2. So in all essence, Grant Davis shows up, makes a lap. He's the XC2 champion. Grant was on our show earlier this year after grabbing his first overall win. He said that if he wrapped up the XC2 championship early, he cannot wait to move up to XC1 and race at 350 at Ironman for the finale. Bearing some unforeseen circumstance, Grant Davis should become the XC2 champion at the John Penton GNCC. I was told this weekend that Grant was told that he needed to complete the year on a 250 and that he could not move up. Every XC2 rider that we've seen that wrapped up a championship, their second year or their year defending it with the number 1 plate, moved up early. Ben Kelly did it. I think Josh Toth didn't win his second championship, but did he move up early? I don't know if he did or didn't. Liam Draper got hurt. He moved up early. Trevor Bollinger didn't defend his title.
Was that from promoter, I'm assuming?
With Bollinger?
No, who told Grant that he had to move up? Was that promoter? It wasn't KTM, was it?
No. Once again, all alleged information, just things that I hear. But per sources, was told that event directors told him that he needed to finish the year out on a 250. Now, why is that important? Because if we go back to our GNCC rules that we were just talking about, the way that it is written, there is no overall championship, but it says, for the XC1 class ranking shall be consistent with the overall national ranking, exclusive of racers in other classes, and then it goes on to talk about ties. The reason that is important is there is nowhere in the rule book that says a minimum number of XC1 races that you need to run. If you look at the amateur rule book, it says you'll be scored on 9 of 13 races. That means you have to run 9 races in the same class to be scored for that class. In the pro rules, it does not say that. It just says that the XC1 champion will be based on overall points. If Grant Davis wraps up the XC2 championship in Ohio and moves up to the front line, well, not the front line because they're all on the same line, but if he moves up to XC1 at Ironman, he is then an XC1 rider. If you're a B rider, you race A class, you're an A rider. If he moves up to the XC1 class, if he is distinguished as an XC1 rider and he races an XC1 race, he is then an XC1 rider. The way that the rules are written says that the XC1 class ranking will be consistent with the overall national ranking. So if he can keep the overall points lead and race the XC1 class at the Ironman GNCC, putting all things aside, we're getting into legal terms here. It may seem like a loophole. It may seem counterintuitive to what is actually what you would think. Like, for common sense, it's, hey, let's give Grant Davis an overall championship. Let's give Ben Kelly an XC1 championship. But when you have rules written in black and white, there's no gray area. There's no getting around it. There's no common thought or common sense that goes into it. The way that the rules are written is that the XC1 class champion will be consistent with the overall national ranking. The way that the rules are written, if Grant Davis becomes an XC1 rider and holds the overall national points lead, Grant Davis is the XC1 Pro Bikes champion and the XC2 Pro Bikes champion. And it sounds weird. It sounds not the norm. You can argue it either way you want, but the way that the rules are, if this was put in front of a lawyer, which I believe that the owners of GNCCs are lawyers, per legal terms, per the rules that are written, there are no minimum requirements of XC1 races. It says that you'll be scored on overall rank in 13 races. Grant Davis raced 13 races. He then becomes an XC1 rider. He then is the XC1 rider that has the most amount of overall points. the way that this is written, he would then be the XC1 champion. So that is why it seems very weird with everything going on and all the different ways that this could play out, that an XC1 plate was given to Ben Kelly based off of, one, according to the rules, Grant Davis should, could, would become the XC1 champion. But two, if you're changing the start rows and doing all this to make sure that a premier class guy wins the premier championship, why wouldn't you let this thing sort itself out?
Yeah.
As we mentioned, this is off-road racing. Anything can happen. Ben Kelly could still win this thing, and now you've created this number one plate that's kind of irrelevant, and then what do you give Ben if he does win? If he wins the overall points, steals the overall points lead back at Ironman and wins and has the most overall points, what do you give him at Ironman? What do you give him at the banquet? What do you distinguish that he did something differently than the overall? And then to the flip side of that, if Grant Davis wins the overall, do you not acknowledge that? Do you create an overall championship that doesn't exist? I mean, that says that the bike national championships will be recognized as separate national class championships. There is no overall championship. Do you create one out of thin air and give it to Grant? Because now you've already given away the XC1 number one plate to Ben Kelly. And so further than that, Grant Davis has to move up next year, whether he likes it or not.
Yeah.
This was his second year.
Yeah.
Now, who runs the number one plate? Is it the guy that earned national number one? Because your assigned number, your earned number, is based off of national overall rankings. So do you give the number one plate to the guy that, if, once again, a lot of racing left, not trying to be dismissive of any of this, but if Grant Davis gets it done and is the number one, or earns the number one number, do you give him the number one plate? Because you just gave your XC1 class champion a number one plate. So do you give away a number one plate to Ben Kelly and tell him he can't run the number one plate that you gave to him on a podium in front of everybody and then posted about?
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that nobody really knows. I think they're just kind of winging it, you know. But at the same time, I think you're looking at a missed opportunity to have the On the Pipe podcast overall champion trophy.
Yeah. I'm going to sponsor it.
I think you should. I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have to raffle off some 110s. But yeah, to your point, so we talked about this in April, didn't we? That's probably when we had this conversation. We had Grant on, maybe May.
I believe we talked about it first after Big Buck when Nick DeFeo won by 3.5 minutes.
Okay, so we had that conversation, then we had the one when we had Grant on. I don't think, obviously nobody ever thought this was going to happen. And I think they are trying to make it to where a premier class rider is going to be the overall champion. But I don't think there's any way they couldn't, celebrate an overall points leader from XC2. Like, that will have to be brought up. I can't imagine they're going to just like push it to the side and be like, oh yeah, XC2 leader. And it's the same mindset. If there's no rules in black and white that an XC2 rider can wrap up points and go to XC1, like we talked about, Johnny Girard did it, Liam Draper did it. I mean, other than them just saying you can't do it, I don't see how he can't just sign up on a 350 and say, I'm doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know if they can just say, I know it's not the rules, but we're not going to let you do it anyway. Or obviously this is just preventative for them to have to worry about this overall XC1 since they already gave the number one plate out. I think everyone's just as confused as I am. It's just that you're listening to me talk, but I don't think anyone has any idea what they're wanting to do with it. This was never a conversation to be had.
And that's the crazy part about it, is that we've never been in this circuit. A year and 3 months ago, an XC2 rider has never won a race. And now we got an XC2 rider winning the majority of the races and on the verge of winning the overall points lead for the year.
Yeah.
But kind of to that point, too, it's like now, because of there's been no anything on GNCC's behalf. GNCC has not made one single statement of, here's what we're going to do. Here's a contingency plan of if this happens or if this happens. Like, everyone's in the dark. And so now, like I mentioned, no one expected that number one plate to get handed out yesterday. And now no one has any idea of what we do the next two rounds. Because, I mean, Grant could wrap it up early. Grant could get 30 points up on Ben next race and wrap it up early. And then what do we do at Penton? We were so ready to give away a number one plate this past weekend. What do we do at Penton if Grant gets more than 30 points ahead of Ben? What do we do? And if they don't do that, what happens when it goes to Ironman? What do? Do we give Ben another number 1 plate? Now he's got 2 number 1 plates. Do we get if he wins it? If Grant wins it, do we make up an overall championship out of nowhere that no one even knows exists? I think that's the weird part about this is that it's been radio silence on their end. Just like we talked about last week, they put out an email, a revision to the rules that said that they were going to start the top 20 points on the first row for buckwheat only, and then it was going to be assessed and announced after that. There was absolutely nothing that said that the rows were going to change again this week. They didn't say, hey, it worked, we're going to keep doing it. They didn't say, hey, it didn't work, we're going to go back to the old. They didn't say, hey, there was only 4 people on row 2, so now we're just going to combine everybody on row 1. I think one of the most frustrating parts about this is the fact that there's absolutely nothing on the promoter's end of an AMA National Championship, the largest series by participation in the world, the premier off-road racing series, just absolutely no acknowledgement, no anything. Everyone is kind of left to argue on Instagram comments and Facebook comments about what is happening because nobody knows, and they haven't let anyone know what is happening.
I do think that the riders and team deserve to know what to expect. Like, I think coming into the weekend, you shouldn't be in the dark. I think halfway through the year, whenever things were starting to shift and look like what they do now, I think there should have been some kind of publication out that, hey, this is what we're going to do. Here's the steps we're going to go towards it. Because just like BK and Grant, all of KTM, they deserve to know what's about to happen, coming into the weekend. And I think if I'm an XC2 guy, I would like to know driving to West Virginia, hey, I'm going to be on row 1 or row 2.
Yeah.
Like, not that I'm Mr. On Time and do everything right, but
Think
I'm
about
also
the XC1 guy wanting to know if they're going to be on row 1 or row 2.
Yeah, I wonder if Jack Walker's going to snipe my front wheel with a 252 stroke this weekend. Like, that's just the kind of mindset. Like, I wonder if I'm going to have 25 guys going into the first turn or if I'm going to have 12, or whatever it is. I do think that needs to be a little bit more organized, but I mean that's just me just thinking. As them being the premier off-road series, you just have something.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think people deserve a little bit better from that.
And welcome to the shit show because
Yeah.
I always get put into the fire anytime that I criticize anything. But once again, it's just like, look at people tearing apart the NFL, the NBA for the decision that they make. Like, this is our NFL. This is our NBA. This is the standard. They are the example. They are the biggest series. And so if there's a local series in this, Mid-East 2 years ago, Rivers Morris was our overall Pro Bikes champion from the 250B class because he scored more overall points than everyone else. We didn't know how to handle it. But we're just the Mid-East Hare Scrambles. This is the premier series. This is Cycle News is covering it. Enduro 21 is covering it. Racer X is covering it. Dirt Bike Mag is covering it. Like, this is the premier series. There's 5 AMA national number 1 plates. This is one of them. This is the biggest one. This one is so big that the AMA is talking about making its own next division of a Grand National Championship and putting it in its own category.
Yeah.
This is the one that has all these full-time employees. This is the one that has SMX, that has Pro Motocross, that has Ricky Carmichael Supercross, Loretta Lynn's. Like, they are the example. They are the premier thing in it. And so with such a prestigious title on the line, for no one to have any clue what's going on, I think is what I was trying to get across. It's not arguing for a rider. It's not arguing even for a manufacturer. Catch a lot of flack for being real heavy on one manufacturer, but in the past 10 years, has there been one rule change that didn't directly benefit one manufacturer?
Yeah.
Has there been one protest that one manufacturer wasn't in? KTM is the one I'm talking about. But and you can't even say that I'm on that boat for this time, because same thing when we did the thing about buckwheat, I think I was as fair as possible. I brought every fact from every angle. I talked about it, but I get a lot of flack from being biased in other ways. I think that I'm completely unbiased. Like, the way that I present information, I try not to put bias anywhere, even when it was between Stu and Ben back in the day. Like, there's no biasy here. It's just facts. And in this situation, it's KTM versus KTM. So you can't even say you're leaning one way or the other. It's between two manufacturers. And so I don't know if the powers that be get bonuses for XC1 and XC2 championships, and so they're pushing for, hey, we need two different people to be an XC1 champion and an XC2 champion, or they want two number 1 plates to use for marketing. You can get into the conspiracies all you want. I have no idea. And once again, all that was just alleged, just off the dome, what if stuff. I'm not saying any of this is a fact, but now we have this situation. There's not even room to be biased, and I don't know. It's just the whole giving out an XC1 plate last race, I feel like makes this an even harder scenario for them to navigate because, and maybe that's why Grant was told that he shouldn't, or has to finish the year on a 250 because they understand that the way that the rules are written, that would make him the XC1 champion if he races XC1 and has the most overall points. So maybe they just want to avoid that litigation altogether because here is Caleb Russell winning his final GNCC championship. Well, can't say final now. He's back. He might win one next year. But if you can zoom in again, that number 1 plate that Caleb Russell is holding is the overall. That is GNCC overall champion. Yesterday, we saw a GNCC XC1 plate handed out. And once again, there's no talks in the rules about an overall champion. So I think the point that I'm trying to get across here is more of we've never been in this scenario. The series has never been in this scenario. And I think it's just weird from a fan's perspective not having any idea how this is going to pan out. Or, once again, going back to the way the rules are written, if Grant moves up and has the most overall points and is an XC1 rider, what do we do?
Yeah. I don't have a good answer. I just closing out on that. I believe the same thing. We should have had a little bit more clear idea halfway through when it started to look like. I just feel like if Supercross and Motocross had a situation like this, it would have been PR'd immediately. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people say, well, why isn't off-road as celebrated or publicized as pro motocross and Supercross? Obviously because you can watch it a lot easier on Peacock. But I think they're a little bit more organized, and they would have already had stuff figured out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to throw shots at promoters because I think GNCC does do good at a lot of things. But
They do really well at most everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, just, get a plan, stick to it. Everybody will cry for about 2 weeks. If we would have had this figured out in May and they said, hey, Grant cannot have the overall, it's for an XC1 only, everyone would have been over it by now. It would have been water under the bridge. But now, still not knowing with 2 rounds to go, it's kind of shit. You know what I mean?
For everyone.
For everybody. Especially Grant, Grant and BK, because they're both going into it wondering, and Grant was wanting to ride a 350. He wanted to move up to XC1. He said he likes the bigger bike better. I mean, we saw that whenever he finished out the Sprint Enduro series on a 350.
Yeah.
Liked it a lot better. As I would assume you would whenever you're racing against people on bigger bikes. I mean, it's better to have, it's nice to have, the same power plant as what everyone else is riding if you're at a disadvantage. So, be interesting to see what happens, and I would love to see a press release or something get posted.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. It's just we got to know something. We got to know what to expect. And how about Grant Davis getting the whole shot on one of the biggest front rows that we've ever had, and on his 250, he grabs the whole shot. The other part about this is I think I started working into a disclaimer and then got away from it. The one thing that I do want to say is same thing like the buckwheat stuff. I think that's when I started bringing it up and then I got off on a tangent. Ben Kelly has nothing to do with this. Ben Kelly is – it kind of sucks that, once again, it seems like all the controversy is involved with the KTM group. And I hate that because I love the riders.
Yeah.
I got nothing but respect for Ben. I think when we did the pre-shows this year, I picked Ben for the championship.
Yeah.
I've always been a big fan of Ben Kelly, and I think I've been very vocal about that. He's
right.
been on the show several times. What?
You were right. Championship. He did get the XC1 championship.
You
said you picked him for the –
Oh, yeah. See?
Yeah. So technically right.
So I can't be any more complimentary of Ben Kelly. And so that's why I don't want any of this to seem like I'm going on him or making it about a rider. It has nothing to do with him. And when Ben Kelly got handed the number 1 plate yesterday on the podium, he even said, this kind of sucks. I should be happy about this, but I'm not. That's what he said on the podium. And he said, my pay is based off of the overall. So he's like, this really doesn't mean anything. That is summarizing. That's putting in his own words. But he did say that he should be happy about it. He's not. He said it did suck. But it puts him in a spot too, because I talked to him quite a bit after the buckwheat thing, and Stu has got a dedicated fan base, and they all went after Ben and attacked him. So I think the biggest thing that Ben took from that is like he got unfairly criticized because of all of that, when once again it had nothing to do with him. He didn't make a protest. He didn't do any of that. Just like he didn't make this number one plate. He didn't give it to himself. I don't think all these guys are competitors. I don't think Ben wants to be handed a number one plate that he didn't earn. And I would go out on a limb and say that Ben thinks if he doesn't win the overall, then he didn't earn that number one plate.
Yeah.
That's just the racer's mentality at this level.
Yeah.
Once again, that's completely speaking for him. That's just what I would assume a pro athlete at that level would think. And based off of his reaction yesterday, I would think it'd be fair to deduce that. But it puts us all in a really weird situation. And there's one more thing that I was going to say, but now I forgot. But I know we're short on time. What are your closing thoughts on this?
Just it'd be interesting to see how the last 2 rounds go. See if anything gets put out. I'm a big fan of Ben Kelly. He's a good buddy of mine. He's a great guy. I do think it'd be pretty gnarly to see Grant Davis win the championship just for history's sake, because I think it's just one of those things that's never thought it would happen. Cool to see it happen. Obviously, we're buddies with all the guys in XC1 pretty much, and honestly, all of them in XC2. Like, if I see any of those guys out, we're cutting it up, bullshitting. But just for history's sake, it'd be cool to at least know what we got coming.
Yeah, and the closing part of this, because we both got to run. But the one thing I was going to say is bringing up the motocross and supercross example is GNCC is unique in the way that both classes are racing at the same time. 250s and 450s are separate. They will never race against each other. At GNCC, 250s and 450s now start on the same exact row, and they're in the same exact race. And so this could never happen in the world of moto because there are two separate things. So if someone wrapped up the 250 title and moved up to 450, they'll only score points in that 450 race for those last couple rounds, so it'd be impossible to win a championship. In this one, the rules blatantly state that it is scored off of overall points. They are all racing the same race. They are all getting the same overall points. And that is why this predicament happens. That is why that the way that the rules are written, if he becomes an XC1 rider, all of his overall points will go with him. It's not like that, like Bollinger, I think, ran number 5 when he won his XC2 title because he finished 5th in points. It's not like when he moved up to XC1, all of a sudden those overall points didn't transfer with him because he was in XC2. They're overall points. They're scored from the same races as the XC1 guys. Yeah. So that's why with it being written the way that it is, if Grant Davis becomes an XC1 rider, he has the most overall points. He is technically the XC1 champion.
Yeah.
And now we have an XC1 champion that was already crowned with 2 races left to go. And it also, once again, not to repeat myself again, but who runs the number 1 plate? Because you got the guy that earns the number, and this is, once again, all only if Grant Davis wins. If he earns that number 1 national number, but they have given a number 1 plate to Ben Kelly, how do you tell Ben he can't run the number 1 plate they gave him? And how do you tell Grant he can't run the number 1 plate that he earned?
Yeah. I want to be interested.
And that is why giving the thing away yesterday just opened a big old can of worms, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what they end up coming with us with at JP and see if any kind of news gets broke out. But that is going to be not good. It was just like how I kind of watched watching SMX when I'm watching Jet Lawrence have the white number or the blue number 1. There was 2 number 1 plates out at one time. Watching Moto
East West.
Yeah, and you watch then you watch there's an SMX like Jet's out there with a blue background and the yellow number for SMX. It's just kind of weird that they do it like that. Does that make sense? Same thing with an XC2. Like Grant has a number 1 and Johnny had a number 1 this year. There was 2 number 1 plates. Just one had a green background, one had the red background.
Yeah, but they're in different classes.
I know. It's just
now next year they're in the same class. You can't run 2 number 1 plates in the same class.
Yeah. I was just thinking, put a blue background on it.
Then who do you score? Who's number 1 for scoring?
I'm number 1, dude.
But yeah. Anyway, I hope that kind of came across in a way that can be understood. I love every single rider. I love this sport. I've dedicated my life in the past 8 years to covering this sport. I always get treated as the bad guy because I cover this sport, which sucks because there was no one covering it to this capacity. So now I'm the TMZ, I'm the Sports Center, I'm the Stephen A. Smith, and it sucks because all I do is present the facts. Like there's nothing that we said on here tonight that wasn't the facts and what is going on.
Other than Nicholas DeFeo winning Pro 2, that's my bad.
Yeah.
That's a lie. That's my bad.
So, yeah, it's a tough position, but everyone at home is wondering these questions. So all I'm doing is presenting the information. Hey, I'm reading the rules from their own website. I'm showing pictures of past champions from their own website. I'm talking about what is going on. So hopefully you can understand that. I guess the people that hate my guts and think that I should shut up are never going to have their mind changed no matter what. Maybe you will. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully this made sense. But love the riders, love the sport, love the spot that we're in. I think the series seems so against an XC2 guy winning the Premier Class Championship, which I think is the opposite. I think you're going to get a ton more exposure, a ton more publicity, and a ton more marketing out of the XC2 kid that all of a sudden started winning races when no XC2 rider had won races before last year. And now you got an XC2 rider winning the championship. Whether I'm KTM, whether I'm GNCC, I see that as only a benefit because it is a much bigger story than an XC1 guy that's already won a championship winning a championship, in my opinion. That being said, good luck to Ben Kelly. He can still go out there. He can still get this thing. And then it goes back to, what do we do then? Because we already gave him a number 1 plate. So he'll get a hefty bonus. So I guess that is one good thing in for it. But
pay the boys.
Thank you, Craig, for taking time out in the middle of a Monday to do an OTP Tuesday. Done a lot of OTP Tuesdays on Wednesdays. I think this might be the first OTP Tuesday on Monday. Getting ahead of it.
Welcome to it.
But, thank you guys for listening. Shout out to Yamaha Motors USA, Yamaha for supporting the show. We are Blue Crew till we die. Craig is even Blue Crew now, too. And thank you guys for being here. Give Zach Tussle a follow. Let him know how he can help you with your financials. Hit up DPG and use our link to shop at RockyMountainATVMC.com. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time on the Pipe Podcast.